Kia ora koutou, I'm Fraser and I'm team lead of Squawk Squad. Work day to day, look, it's all of a startup grind really. We run through different processes of looking at new ways to market ourselves, things within the education space, talking to different conservation projects out there and setting up new projects with them. We've got technology, our hardware and our sensors of our Good Nature A24 traps and the sensor that we connect with that, and so we're often talking to our stakeholders there and talking to them as to how we can best use this in alternative ways. So it's a really it's a marriage of a lot of aspects, be it hardware, our application that we're iterating and always advancing and improving with our app team and development team, to jumping around. I've got a core team of 7 of us, of which I'm often back and forth with and looking through lean methodology of having a Trello board of which you're talking to everybody on. We're all working remotely from different places. People have full-time jobs. They're working for Rocket Lab. They're working for other startups or in even big organizations. And then myself and another have doing this full to part-time or part to full-time. So it's a marriage of things, and then how you create that sort of decentralized remote system of working together as well. So at the end of it all, it's really exciting and really great to be in the conservation and the education space. So my pathway was definitely a bit of a zigzag to get to where I am now. So I was at university studying to be a mechanical engineer and completed that and did a bunch of engineering jobs along the way. Came at the end of that, and no matter how much I owned a piece of machine design or redesigned a mechanical aspect of a production line or on a construction site, if the management above me didn't see eye to eye and they didn't work out their issues, then what I did didn't really matter or have a big difference. So it was from there that I decided, look, I've got to find the place where I can make a bigger difference. And I found these 2 big words called management consulting. And I was like, oh, that's me, I'll go be a management consultant. And so I actually ended up working for PwC. So imagine this, but in a suit. And look, I'm happy that I'm not going to have to wear a suit again ever in my life. But I was out there and I was, suit day to day. And that's really interesting to understand the background of businesses and work for public, private, large, small businesses, and figuring out what makes them tick and how they operate. And then from there, it wasn't long before I was only partway through that, and I realized that I was just going to use that as a runway to jump into the startup world. And while I was working for PwC, I was learning everything I could about the startup space, be that books, be that going to events and meeting as many people as I can, surrounding myself with people that were already in the space. You are the average of the 5 people that surround you. So really surrounding myself with people that I admired. And it wasn't long before I then jumped into throwing up ideas on a board with a bunch of my engineering friends from university. We landed with an idea which was the initial stage of Squawk Squad. And then that grew. We chased that into a Startup Weekend Auckland, and we ended up winning that whole Startup Weekend. And from there was a bunch of prizes that we won, and we carried on to an incubator, and we developed the company, and we had a big Kickstarter of which we raised $20,000, and instead we raised $70,000, and that was sort of the initial stages of Squawk Squad, and now we're almost a year on from there. So this career, look, it was by no means completely on purpose. It was more the sake of looking for something with a lot more purpose in what I was doing. So although I was working in management consulting beforehand and I was really purposeful about what I wanted to learn from that, there's a lot of things that I might not have agreed with throughout the company, and there was things that I thought I could get a lot more out of if I pursued something I really cared about, something I gave a crap about. So I went off and started exploring that space. And when I actually laid down or started thinking about these ideas with these engineering friends, it was actually about deciding why are we going to start a company? Why are we going to go start a startup, which is something really important for all startups to think about in the first place. And for us, that was really about something that wasn't about the money. We see a lot of startups and businesses out there that are just trying to make a ton of money. So it's like, let's do something that's not about the money, not about the success, and really about a bigger picture for New Zealand. And with those three things in mind, it wasn't long before we came across the conservation space, and we saw that the crisis that our birds were facing was detrimental, and that it was ridiculous for us to let that happen and not do something about it. So with the really amazing technology that we found in the space as well, all it was a question of how do we get this into everybody's hands? How do we have a country where everybody is involved in conservation? Everybody's taking part of trying to help save our native birds. The travel perks. What's going on with the travel perks? It's very internally, so throughout New Zealand, because our purpose is very New Zealand based. Not to say that there's not means of scaling outside New Zealand, but for now we are very set to help predator-free New Zealand and create that with many other ambitious communities and organisations. But therefore, although we're not travelling out of New Zealand with Squawk Squad, within New Zealand there's been a lot of travel perks of going to each one of these conservation projects of which we fund these traps for, and therefore we go and install those as well. So I guess we've been in Auckland in the Waitakere Ranges installing 60 traps there. We were in Te Rere Penguin Reserve installing 60 traps. They're helping out the yellow-eyed penguin down in the Catlins. Then up in the Coromandel, we were helping save the brown kiwi there, and installed another 70 traps there. And so across the board, we've been jumping around. Our next project that we're funding is currently in Pukaha, Mount Bruce, in the Wairarapa. So we'll also be going up there as well. And not to mention jumping around with a lot of speaking events and talking to amazing groups such as yourselves and getting to share our story, our experience.